sorry I've been away for so long. My absence was why I decided to just kind of hop on and do a really quick podcast update. And just because I get a little bit bored talking to myself, I invited Chris to come back, and we may or may not delve into mental health, but I just didn't want to yell at myself in my own flat like a crazy person. And I feel terrible. Chris, what is your actual official title? Because I'm going to mess it up. I want to say like a trainee psychologist, but your official title is what?
I actually have two. My title is as a trainee psychologist, but I also have another title as for work, which is a psychological wellbeing practitioner. So that's why I have two.
That is amazing. I don't know what to say to that. Thank you. So the main reason I've kind of not done a podcast since we kind of had a discussion about mental health, I'm just going to jump out and say it. So I've been talking to a TV production company, which is owned by one of the major British networks, about adapting Grindr Survivr into a TV show. And I was very hesitant to say anything about it because realistically, most people who write scripts, your script isn't going to get made. At the same time, I wrote a script I'm very proud of. I think it's really funny. I've had both several producers and comedy writers and comedians tell me it made them laugh out loud. And I didn't think it was bad or wrong to at least just put that out there into my kind of iTunes, YouTube space. And while, in one sense, while I recognize the risks, or, you know, that obviously not everyone who gets a script to a TV production company will get their show made, what's wrong with me sharing that with my viewers? So that's kind of the reason you haven't heard from me, because I've been rewriting this script. I've been trying to break down how an entire season of Grindr Survivr would go, you know, trying to make it funny, which is sometimes, in a weird way, trying to make your pain funny is not pleasant. It is actually painful most of the time. And like, you have to like put it on the page, and then like you stare at it and you're like, then you have the flashback to the painful incident. Then you're mad at the person who put you in pain in the first place. And then it's like, oh, right. These mofos want to laugh at my pain. Okay, so how am I going to make it funny for y'all? All right, here, let me add a joke. Is it funny now? Am I good enough for you now? I'm being facetious and hyperbolic on purpose. But
To be funny.
yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to create some sort of gay dating show, but it would actually be the first show that's really tackling how dating apps are completely changing how all of us interact. And I would hope kind of gay people and straight people kind of see themselves. Oddly enough, I sent it to my nephew, because my nephew, he's just naturally a really funny guy. And he said it made him laugh out loud, and he enjoyed it. He's obviously biased, but he's straight and has a girlfriend. So, you know, ideally, we're all going through dating drama, or we have done, and we all have crazy antics and anecdotes, particularly around Grindr and Tinder. So, you know, why not make a show about it? So that's there. It's sitting with the company now. The other thing is, I was a little bit ashamed to kind of, if I set it out there to the universe or to the world and it doesn't happen, then I somehow felt like really embarrassed, like, oh, failed, or, you know, I didn't want to talk smack and then people would be like, oh, where's your TV show? Didn't happen, loser. But at the same time, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, I'm a completely unknown writer. I've written some books, but, you know, I've worked in news, but I've never worked on a scripted TV show before. So to get in the door is a big deal, but realistically, of the people who get in the door, it's like 1%.
Yeah.
But, you know, my show's funny. Like, people who read the book, I think it's funny, or they can see themselves in it. And hopefully I want to take the essence of that and take it to a TV show. So Grindr Survivr might be coming to a TV channel near you, fingers crossed. And I don't know if I believe in like the power of positive thinking, or what's that whole thing, like Oprah had that book, like The Secret, and it's like you write your secret desire and put it in an envelope and put a magnet on it and put it on the fridge and it magically comes to you. That being said, sometimes when you are passionate about something and you share that passion with other people, that can be infectious. And then they can, again, like, you know, my straight nephew who has a girlfriend, he'll probably get married before I do, kind of saw himself in it. He laughed. and other people might see themselves in it and laugh. And, you know, who the heck knows? Some gay Netflix executive might stumble upon this podcast. You just literally never know. And I don't think it's, you know, I've tried. I'm very proud of the script I wrote. I rewrote it like 10 times. I've been working on it seriously for the past 2, 3 months, less so like, but really I started on it in July. So we're talking 6, 7 months. I'm proud of it. I think it's funny. I think it's got something for everyone. And I'm just kind of putting it out to the universe. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. And, you know, look, worst case scenario, I've got a great script. I've got a sketch of how all of season 1 goes. And you never know. So that's kind of the good reason why I haven't been like working on the podcast, or, you know, why I haven't been kind of giving you guys updates as much, because I really wanted to get this script out. So what's kind of also been there for me, and this is probably why I haven't been doing it as much, is I've been kind of confronting a level of cynicism around the podcast, because it takes way more effort than you think it does. It's just to set up a recording, to coordinate, particularly when I'm interviewing a guest who lives outside of London, to coordinate with their schedule. I have to like record them in 3 different spots. Like I have to have, like, I don't know how to edit software, so I have to pay an editor, and you have to literally tell them exactly, you know, this minute here, that minute there.
Yeah.
Take this minute from the first microphone, take this minute from the second. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And what's been there for me is kind of like, you know, do any of the gay guys appreciate it? Is anyone really listening? Does it make a difference for anybody? And I'm in this kind of creativity seminar, and I'm hoping to maybe have the woman who leads the seminar come on the podcast. She leads seminars, but she also is like an interior decorator. So I'm really curious as her perceptions of how your environment affects your life and your mental well-being. But, you know, we were kind of discussing in a roundabout way how all of your excuses weigh you down and suppress your creativity. And your excuses can be really reasonable. They can be really logical. And so we just kind of spent a big chunk of the evening talking about how we called it like your becauses, as in the reason I don't do X, the reason I don't write my script, the reason I don't take up painting, the reason I don't, but creativity is everywhere. The reason I don't try to find a husband or try to have a new relationship with the husband you got, you know what I mean? Like all your because. They're all quite, no one had anything that was off the wall. It was like, well, people will think I'm weird. No one will listen to me. I don't have time. But all of those conversations, all of those reasons suppress your creativity.
Yeah.
And what I kind of got out of looking at all those reasons, the main reason, the good reason I told myself, you know, and I pat myself on the back is, well, you're trying to make this TV show happen. You don't need to be putting your energy in a podcast. Write that script. Make it funny, and then once you have a TV show, well, then everyone's going to line up to be on your, like, you're not, you know, everything will fall into place. What was really under that, the real reason, that the TV show is the fig leaf. What's underneath that was just the cynicism of, it doesn't make a difference, nobody cares. Why am I wasting my time?
I did actually want to ask earlier when you said that there was a level of cynicism there, because you said there was a level of cynicism, but then everything that you described seemed more like a frustration. That was kind of the fact that it is so time consuming, the fact that you do have to put in so much very minute specific details to get other people work, but I didn't quite understand why you felt why there was a level of cynicism there. But saying it in that way makes it clearer. So it's almost a feeling of futility, like what is the point in doing this? Who's listening? Who's engaging? Who is this benefiting?
Exactly. But again, those are good reasons. Like it takes up too much time. It's not like it's a lot of money, but again, I can't edit, so I have to pay an editor. You know, I had to buy the mics. You have to pay for hosting to get it on iTunes and Spotify. So, you know, it's not an insignificant cost. The YouTube channel is nowhere close to being where they can run ads. So I have all these good reasons, but kind of like as I'm writing this script about my book, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, you know, who am I? Who am I going to be for the gay community?
Who do you want to be?
Well, it's funny because obviously, you know, you've teased me calling me Grindr Moses.
Technically, you called yourself Grindr Moses.
Well, no, I didn't. You
In
called
the
me
book,
that.
you did.
Did I really?
Yes, that's why I called you that. I didn't just make it up.
I thought, so here I was thinking you were really clever, and I was just so brilliant. But it's funny because obviously Moses, when he got the Hebrew people out of Egypt, they did nothing but whine and complain for 50 years.
Hmm.
What's there is, if you're going to be a force for change, you have to keep doing it even when people are not doing it.
Yeah.
And in a very weird way, something happened today. I don't want to get into all the details because I want to keep the podcast positive. But someone said something really snarky to me on social media. Surprise, surprise. A gay guy being snarky for no reason. A gay guy who, hasn't read my book, probably hasn't done any work on transformation, probably hasn't produced a weekend course to help gay guys deal with their issues, tried to crap on me, and then literally had the chutzpah to tell me I need to add more to gay groups than what I take away. And I was like, word? It's like, and then that set me off. And then someone who attended the weekend with Gene Lloyd saw this happening, also joined in on the snarkiness, and then tried to gaslight me afterwards and be like, that's not what I meant. When I posted that gif of someone rolling their eyes at you, it was coming, it was ridiculous. So I may not be a mind reader, but I literally did write the book on how gay guys are snarky to each other in cyberspace. So I kind of feel like I might be an expert in seeing it when it's happening to me. And then that person, what I tried to say to him was, the reason I'm upset, and this is why, it wasn't that, okay, fine, one person was snarky to me, fair enough. It was just that this person who went to the Gene Lloyd weekend and then after the weekend came to me and said, I'm having a really tough time. I don't know if he said he wanted to come out to his family or he had just come out to his family and they were very hostile, but I need some individual help. And within the rules of the seminar, that's it. Like, you either raise your hand and let Gene Lloyd coach you through everything, or that's it. Like, she did her part. She flew all the way from Baltimore to London. She spent 3 days it's getting set up, did a 2-day course, had 1 day to rest, and then went back to Baltimore. And on her day off, I facilitated him having a one-on-one coaching call. And so, and then he tried to both add to the snarkiness with his nasty gif and then tried to gaslight me afterwards. And then say, well, you're really just self-promoting because that's all you do is promote your book. It was like, that sent me into the stratosphere of anger. And then kept trying to argue, oh, but you wrote your book. Like, and you're not supposed to publicize, you're not supposed to self-promote your work on this gay meme Facebook group. It's like, really? I'm sorry I brought the level of the conversation down when everyone was making jokes about tops and bottoms.
So when have you ever done that? I guess the two things that really stand out for me, that whole situation, is A, the person is basically saying that you need to give more to the gay community. Who is that person and what are they doing for the gay community? Because that's screaming hypocrisy to me. Second of all, somebody saying that you shouldn't be promoting a book. Like, at what point have you ever done that?
Yeah, well, I looked on my Instagram. The only post on my book are when I created a new cover, so I put that out there.
Yeah.
And that was the only time I promoted the book in 2019. I talk about on my Instagram story, well, I had a meeting with the producer, et cetera, but I don't really promote the book. I very graciously, someone messaged me today and said, well, actually, your book is a contribution to the gay community. So, it helped him. And so it was weird that I get why someone who doesn't know me, because he probably didn't know, let's be honest, he didn't know. He clearly doesn't seem like someone who reads a lot of books anyway. But, so that's when people attack books, it's like, did you read it? Did you at least read the cover? Did you read a review? But that's fair enough, right? If the meme group on tops and bottoms, you're not supposed to talk anything. But before everyone kind of think, well, why did I post it? The BBC did this news article on all the gay men that feel they're too ugly to be gay.
Yeah.
And someone brought up the book called Straight Jacket.
Okay.
Which is a book about a gay guy who's just kind of trying to come to terms with his gayness.
Yeah.
But I have not read Straight Jacket because I didn't want anyone accusing me of stealing from it.
Yeah.
But, from what I've heard of people who've read both, my book is more germane to Grindr. And I
Yeah.
mean, the reason Grindr Survivor, it's the Grindr Survivor podcast. And body image has always been in the gay community, but it's 100 times worse with Grindr because
Yes.
now you're going to be judged by a shirtless photo on an app.
Yeah.
So I was trying to speak to that. And if the rules of the group are fair enough, I can deal with somebody who was just being snarky. It was someone who went to the course with Gene Lloyd, saw how hard I worked to produce that course, and then someone that I went to Gene and was like, please, will you talk to him? He's
Yeah.
having a really tough time. Then try to gaslight me about it. I lost it. I'm not going to lie. People say, well, you're holier than thou, you're self-righteous. It's like, no, I freely admit I have a temper. I say that in the book. I own the flaw that when I get upset, I tell people off. And by the way, that's in the show. My character in the Grindr Survivor TV show tells people off and has to deal with that. Yeah, that was just really hurtful. And where I went to after that conversation was that was a massive piece of evidence as to why I don't need to do any more podcasts.
Okay. Wow. So the fact that that altercation happened was basically a message to you saying that you don't need to bother doing this anymore. And I guess
Exactly.
in some ways I can see why, because it almost feeds into that idea of who's listening and who's gaining anything out of it anyway. But then what I would say is take a step back and actually think about the person that approached you and said, actually, the book really helped them. That's who it's helping. Some people don't want to be helped and some people don't want to hear things like the things that you're putting in the book or the podcast or the TV show. People just don't connect with that and they don't want to hear that. So don't focus on the people that aren't engaging and actually think about the people that are.
Well, but the fact that I got more pushback from the dude who needed help from Gene Lloyd
Yeah, it makes it very personal.
was a massive because that was a massive reason. Well, the gays don't appreciate it. Here, I inconvenience myself so he could have a better relationship with his family. He sees someone getting snarky with me and he joins in rather than defends me. Not that I need someone to defend me, but it was like, that's who you are.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was trying to avoid who he was being and just try to be like, well, the rules of our gay meme group don't require, it's like, and then he kept going back to that as opposed to, I went to bat for you when you needed help.
Yeah.
And if I had the same mentality that you just came at me with, then, where would you have been? How would you have felt? But that type of mentality is what makes me scream and want to pull my hair out. Because it's like when people need help, you can help them. And the instant it's inconvenient for them, they'll turn on you in a heartbeat. But here's the reason why we're doing this podcast. Because I got clear on that's my cynicism. That's my because. I'm not going to be burdened by doing the podcast. I'm going to get more enlivened. I'm going to feel more creative. I'm going to have more energy. So it was like, okay, yeah, I can sit in the corner and, pat myself on the back and say, well, you tried. You've done more than most gay guys. You're just keep your enlightenment to yourself. I had someone else tell me that on social media today. Like, don't try to help anyone. No one appreciates anything. Just keep it all yourself. And I was kind of like, that's one way to look at life. But it was like, okay, no, the opposite, right? Yeah. One person was snarky to me, that's okay.
Yeah.
And in one sense, I did not connect him to Gene Lloyd so that he could throw rose petals at my feet. My ultimate commitment is for people in the gay community to start to transform some of these mentalities, some of these beliefs that they've either internalized consciously or unconsciously that are holding us back. And if he got something, he does not have to thank me for it. He can be as ungrateful as he wants. Now, that's not the nice way to be.
Yeah.
That's not ideal. But if I'm supposed to be quote unquote Grindr Moses, you have to give it away freely.
Yeah.
You have to give it away with no expectation. And that's the difference between a thought leader and someone who just yells into the ether.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm going to be some big politician or something, but I can do something in my community. I can say, okay, someone was snarky, I got mad, fair enough. That should not deter me from expressing myself and trying to have some sort of conversation to move the gay community forward. So anyway, I don't have to react all the time. I freely admit I got a short fuse. I got room to grow in that area. So people always say, well, you wrote a book, so you think you're perfect. It's like, no, I'm telling you in the book, I'm telling you on the podcast and in the TV show, I have a temper. It gets me into trouble and I tell people off. But that's okay. I'm human and I'm not going to be stopped.
Yeah.
Because what I want for the gay community is for us to start having profound connections and relationships.
Yeah.
And am I going to fail as I preach whatever I preach? Yeah, all the freaking time. But if I stop and just say, well, I tried, or, I'm a hypocrite, or whatever, no difference gets made. And if anything, I'm worse off. So anyway, that's all. I got it off my chest. Everything's okay. But at the same time, I wanted to share with you guys what I've been dealing with. But I'm going to keep doing the podcast. I literally invited someone to be on the podcast today. I'm going to be inviting more people. Because once I got jazzed about it, ideas pop into your head. And so it was, in a weird way, around the creativity seminar, once I gave up my excuse of, because gay guys don't appreciate it, nobody listens, more creativity showed up. And it was like, oh my goodness, I can invite this interior decorator. I want to invite a gay rapper. Like, I want to probably have Gene Lloyd back on. There's so much I can do, and I can already feel my energy is up. I feel enlivened, and it's going to be what it's going to be, and that's okay.
I think something that, is pretty much in relation to what you're saying is actually the way that you respond to these sort of, as you put them, because statements is going to have a massive impact on the way that you kind of engage with things moving forward in this sense of creativity. And a big thing is that actually adversity is going to come your way regardless of what happens. In the way that you overcome and manage and deal with that adversity is going to have dramatic effects in the outcome in terms of your own well-being, your life, and your achievement of your goals. So the fact that you've been in this situation today where there's been a disagreement online and there's been that conflict, and these people, let's be real, internet trolls have come for you, but actually your response to that, the initial kind of knee-jerk response is, what's the point? And the response, the kind of answering that question effectively, well, actually this is the point, and this is why I'm not going to let myself be downtrodden by this, and this is what I'm going to do moving forward. And I think that's a really important message for yourself and generally your listeners to take away, is that actually things are going to happen that aren't going to be what you would want, and they're not going to be ideal, and you can say everything that you need to say, but sometimes people just aren't going to listen. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't keep saying it, and you shouldn't keep fighting for what's right. You just need to keep standing for what you believe in, and also standing for where your values are and what's important to you.
That's really brilliant, because I was randomly watching someone else's YouTube channel, and Will Smith was talking about how breaking into acting is really hard, and everything about it is difficult. And even when you seem to have achieved a level of success, things remain difficult. And he was kind of encouraging, it was because some of the other Aladdin actors couldn't get work after that $1 billion movie. And he was like, literally kind of said what you just said. It's like, how you respond to the adversity is what will define your success. So,
I mean, it's kind of like
great minds think alike, Chris. You and Will Smith.
I mean, we're the same person, really. But it's kind of just like that old saying of when you get knocked off the horse, you just get back on it. It's the same thing, and it's a really important message to take away. Is that actually life is going to knock you down. Didn't mean to say knife. That will definitely knock you down.
That can happen too. These gays will cut. They'll cut a bee. I'm not supposed to curse on my podcast, but they will cut you.
I don't think you can monetize this video now, but anyway, the point is life is going to knock you down, but you just kind of need to pick yourself back up, brush yourself off, and move on with it a lot of the time, and not be too disheartened by what other people say, and actually think about really what's there for you, what are you really taking, what's really holding you back, and then based on that, what can you do to overcome that and move on. And I think I'm really glad that you've been able to get that from your seminar, and you've been able to have that level of introspection, and I think it's something that people really need to take time to do in terms of listening to themselves and being aware of themselves and being very much kind of present and focused on themselves, because it's something I think is missing quite generally, but often for gay people as well. And I think kind of within the gay community, there's a kind of loss of identity, particularly individually, and since the community has just changed and time has gone on, there's a loss of identity in the community more generally, and that really translates in day-to-day functioning and being. So it's really important to take a step back and actually think about what's important for me and what do I actually want to achieve in life and what's holding me back and why.
Yeah, well, thank you. No, and thank you for agreeing to be on a podcast on very short notice. I appreciate that. But part of it was, why wait a month before I can book a proper guest when, I'm
proper
paying...
guest?
Oh, sorry. I meant my...
Too late. The damage is done.
Well, we already had you to talk about mental health, right?
I'm sorry, you can only have me once. Christ.
Okay, actually, I'm going to cut that out. That is sound. How do I recover from that?
You don't. Damage is done.
Um,
Sorry, tell me more about the proper guest you want.
no. Since I kind of was trying to take a negative and turn it into a positive, I just wanted to do something instantly, and you were around and sat down and were great, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Again, you guys, please, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Not to mention that actually really blesses me tremendously when people watch or listen and tell me that it helps them. And again, keep your fingers crossed that maybe Grindr Survivr will be coming to a TV channel near you. So thank you guys very much. Bye.